What was the first Ogham that was ever carved? Well, Dag Eve agus Fáilte. Hi, hello and welcome. Jon O'Sullivan, Irish Pagan School. And ní answer, not hard to say, because we do have the story or the record of the first Ogham that was carved. And this comes from a manuscript known as the Ogham Tract, where it talks about the structure of Ogham and the origins of Ogham. And Ogham as an alphabet was created by the Tuath Dé Danann deity Oghma, who was champion of that tribe. And so he was the physical champion of the tribe. He was the one who kind of was the strongest amongst the Tuath Dé Danann. But that was not his only kind of trait. He was also scholarly. He was also very educated. And in order to just show and to prove his own scholarly skill, he created the Ogham alphabet just because he could. And so it's said here that, like, yes, the mother and the father of Ogham is Oghma, and the mother of Ogham is Oghma's hand and his knife, because he would carve the letters, really carve the symbols himself into the wood or the matter that he chose to. Because it's also said that the the script, is the child of both sound and matter. So it is the combination of sound, or the capturing of sound into a physical form of matter, which is the transformation that takes something from the energy of sound and makes it into a physical character from Om. And so the structure of this story, it talks about him creating this entire alphabet. And we have to acknowledge that the ancient Irish mythological cycle was a very caste-based society. There was different castes within the structure of society, and it was said that this script, this particular alphabet, was made for the elevated caste only, for the educated people, not for lay people to use. It was for the use by the more scholarly, the higher thinking kind of people within the community or within the Tuath. So we know the origins of how it came to be and who it was who created it, but I still haven't answered the question: what was the first Om carved? And the first Om carved is the next section of that story, and it was carved the letter B. The letter B, or Beth, was carved, and it was carved on birchwood. And the reason why is actually quite fascinating as well, because Oma carved this letter B 7 times on a piece of birch in order to give it to Lugh, so that Lugh would be able to use it to protect his wife. And so it was said that Lugh's wife would be carried off from him 7 times by the other people into the other world, unless she was protected around her by birchwood carved with this Om letter, the first Om letter. Now, from there, we have the Ohm letters are called Feda or Fi, and those are then structured in groups of 5, which are then called Acme. And so Oma then carried on to carve the rest of the Feda and to organize and structure those into the Acme. And I think there's initially 5 for Acme, and then there was a 5th Acme added later on. So that's where we get to initially 20 characters and then 25 characters eventually. Now, over time, there's been a lot of confusion around the Om, and a lot of people have attributed Om to other things. One of the main culprits, I guess, is a guy called Robert Graves, who attributed the Om to the tree calendar and this kind of the Irish zodiac or tree. Like, it's not. It's no. It's New Age kind of appropriated stuff. um, Om as an alphabet is designed for this kind of use of intellectual circumstances from its intent, but we do have a school known as the Om Academy, where we teach more about the structures of Om themselves, how to create and actually carve the Om, and then the origins of each individual Fida and what their background is, what their kind of meaning is, because it's not just they are symbols of trees only, they are connected with so many other different cultural contexts and expressions, and there are many different ways to experience and to learn from the Om. and it's a very fascinating kind of work to do. So you can go to Academy if you want to look up more there. We have some classes in the Irish Pagan School itself if you'd like to learn more about it in that way. And if you'd like to know more just in general, we have a whole lot of free resources, a year's worth of free resources at irishpagan.school/free. So thank you very much. I hope this has been interesting for you. But we do have a story about the very first that was carved and why it was carved. So thank you very much for being here. Until next time, look after yourself and slán. Goodbye.